For joining us for our regular monthly webinar. And today we're talking about the different hydroponic seed varieties and just a lot of stuff that's happening in the seed world, especially hydroponically. So just kind of hang with us. Today's going to be a little different than some of our other webinars in that it's going to kind of be more of just kind of a classroom teaching kind of thing. I have some things to show you, but a lot of times we might demonstrate something, but today we're just going to download a whole bunch of information to you. So if you have any questions, feel free to type in your questions. We'll answer them as best we can with as much time as we have to answer them during the time. So seeds. We're going to talk about seeds, all sorts of different things about seeds. First of all, you might hear, particularly as you're starting to talk in the industry, if you go to different places or anything like that, or different gatherings of people who are horticulturalists, or even if you come to a seminar, you might hear us talking about what kind of different types of seeds are there. And there are a couple of different things, terms you might hear. Cultivars, for example, or varieties, or maybe breeding seeds or something like that. So we're going to talk about those things. So first of all, cultivars. What cultivars are, when we refer to cultivars, what we're saying is the actual type of produce. So lettuce, in the lettuce world, and in almost everything we talk about today, we'll talk about lettuce just because that's the most common thing that we grow. But for example, when you're talking about a cultivar for lettuce, what you're talking about is, are you referring to, for example, I've got a couple of little examples that I just pulled off. Are you talking about a bib lettuce or a butter lettuce? And look at the roots. That's the beautiful thing about hydroponics, is you can see the actual health of your plants by looking at the roots. But are you talking about a bib lettuce or a butter lettuce? Or you might be talking about something like a multi-leaf. Here I pulled a multi-leaf out, and you can see, I just have to, hold on a second, let me put this guy back. I wound these around because they're so long. I just want to show you, if I can reach over the table, look, can you see, that's like one root right there. These are super happy roots right here. And like I said, I kind of wound them all around when I took them out. But those are white, beautiful, and when you see the really nice thick roots like that, those are happy plants. So anyway, going back to seeds. So cultivars are a bib lettuce, a multi-leaf lettuce, or for example, here's a baby romaine. Here's a baby romaine lettuce right here. Looks like the stem got a little bit crazy, but you can see definitely the head of the romaine coming up here. So the cultivars are the actual different types of produce, of lettuce that we're talking about. And then we have varieties. So varieties are usually named or numbered, and they refer to a specific cultivar. For example, this romaine right here, this romaine happens to be a seed called Dragoon. So we've done Breen here as a romaine. This one, this little multi-leaf, you know, it's called not super creative. It's called a multi-leaf red number 4. And that's where I was saying, you know, the varieties might be named, they might be numbered, but something to identify very specifically that type of seed. So if it does really well, you can be sure and reorder it and have it again. This one right here is a Rex. A Rex is one of the very most common commercially grown butterheads that are out there, or bib lettuces that are out there. So cultivar is the type of produce or the type of lettuce, and variety is the name of that. And there are a ton of different varieties within each one. Like I said, they're usually named or numbered. We have a Rex here. One of my favorite is Skyphos. It's a bib lettuce. It has beautiful red on it, and the leaves are a little more frilly than the traditional butter leaf there. But this, I think I said, is a multi-red 4, you know, multi-blonde. Let's see, there's a multi-blonde too. There's a ton of them out there. The difference is the cultivars really don't change, right? You've got bib lettuces, you've got multi-leaf, you might have romaine, but the varieties are what we're particularly excited about hydroponically, because the varieties can be bred for very specific traits. And that's what we really want to look at and what we want to talk about. So the varieties can be bred, as I said. They can be crossbred, and they can be bred and developed for very specific traits. For example, for physiological traits like tip burn, romaine is super prone to tip burn. That's one of the things that happens, and they can develop the romaine for tip burn. So the seed is less likely to get tip burn, because tip burn makes your product less marketable. And as you know, if you've listened to any of our seminars or our webinars or anything like that, we're all about making marketable produce, because that makes a successful grower and a successful business. So physiological disorders like tip burn, like bolting, if you have a type of lettuce that's really prone to bolting, then you want to be sure and catch it right before it starts to bolt, because bolting, again, makes it bitter and makes it unmarketable. It could be disease resistance. If any of you had super sharp eagle eyes, you would have noticed it's super common on Bibb lettuce, but you might have noticed that our Bibb lettuce here has a little bit of powdery mildew. So seeds can be bred so as best possible for disease resistance like powdery mildew. You can change varieties for specific growing. For example, Rex happens to be a long light variety, which means summertime, when you have a whole lot of light out there, it's not going to bolt quickly. It may not grow too quickly to create a bitter taste, but it's just going to, it was designed, or it was bred specifically for long light. You might have a short light variety. If you're, let's say you are in some of the northern, we're in North America, we're in California. Let's say you're in some of the northern states where you have short days during the winter, short light during the winter, and long light during the summer. You might have to change the variety that you use in a Bibb lettuce. You might grow Rex during the summer, but then as the light changes, you might switch to something like Elton, which is another variety of a Bibb lettuce, which is for short light days. So that's an example of when you might want to grow the same type of lettuce, and in this sense, the same Bibb lettuce, because that's what your market wants. But you know that Rex you can't grow year-round where you are because of the different needs. So you might want to switch to something called, Elton. I just happen to know Elton is the name of a variety that's a short light variety. There are also varieties like Salanova. Salanova is a multi-leaf. It's actually a branded seed lettuce, and it's made for just an easy cut, for cut lettuce. It's not necessarily head of lettuce, although you can. It looks similar to this, or it looks similar to any head of lettuce, but it's specifically bred to make cut lettuce out of, because the way it was bred, it makes it just very easy to cut it, and all the leaves kind of fall off with one cut, and it makes it super easy. So Salanova is an actual brand. Varieties are not only bred, but different varieties might have different characteristics to them. For example, they might have different textures. Where you have a Bibb lettuce like Rex, it might have a kind of a softer texture to it, or maybe it's a chewier texture, might have a slightly different taste to it, just slightly different. The flavor profile might be different from variety to variety. Also, what's really important specifically for, not so much for hydroponic growers, at least from AmHydro's standpoint, because we're really very, very pro-local produce. That is, instead of having a huge, massive greenhouse in the center of the U.S. and shipping all the product out in either direction, instead, we're very much about growing locally instead of having one centralized. But there are varieties that are bred for long shipping distances. Most, as you've probably heard before, most of the lettuce in the U.S. is grown either in Arizona or California, Yuma or Salinas Valleys. And it's bred specifically for long shipping distances. So it can make it all the way over to the East Coast in 4 or 5 days and have the same sort of taste and texture as it might if it were eaten and consumed right there in Yuma or Salinas counties. Also size. Variety will dictate the size. As I mentioned, Salanova is a little bit of a smaller head, but you know, and then there's some larger heads, and that's all a function of the variety. There are different cultures that prefer smaller. A lot of the Asian cultures prefer smaller heads of lettuce, whereas in the U.S., a head of lettuce like this might be 4, 5, or possibly even 6 ounces at a full head. In the Asian culture, maybe they want a small head of lettuce that might only be 2 or 3 ounces, and that might be to them a full head of lettuce. So there are varieties that grow to a full head of lettuce, you know, that are much smaller. So those are some of the basics of seeds and what seeds mean to a grower. There are cultivars, which are the type, the Bib or the multi-leaf or the romaine lettuce. There are varieties, which each cultivar is named a certain something, so you can identify the traits and the characteristics that you like very specifically in that particular seed that you've gotten. So now let's talk about actual seeds. There are, and behind me here you can see what our propagation looks like. This is propagating here at the HCOE, and you can see how beautiful and even our growers' seeding is. That's exactly what you want. You want it to be nice and even so that you're going to have a harvestable head all at the same time. And we might get a close-up here and show you what it looks like, but it's all very even in all of her seeding right here. So there are things. So this is a... these, if you've watched any of our other seeding videos, you've seen. So these are pelleted seeds. So I'm going to hold one up. I'm going to hold up the difference between a pelleted and a non-pelleted seed, so you see. So this is a pelleted seed, and we'll get a close-up of it so you can see. And the reason that it's pelleted is because you see how easy it is for me to just pick one of them up and seed it. This is super easy if you're, if you're seeding a lot of different things. And then this salad mix is, you can't even see, but it almost looks, it's about the size of a flea. And again, we'll get a close-up of it so you can see here, but it's about the size of a flea. And you can imagine if you had to see, this is one head of lettuce right here, and this is one head of lettuce right here. So you can see how difficult it might be. But when you're doing a salad mix, like this one right here, like this tray right here behind me, you want the unpelleted seeds because you can drop 4, 5, or 6 of them in one hole as opposed to the pelleted. Also, the difference is the pelleteds are much more expensive. They have a little clay coating around them, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab you a picture so you can see, looking inside here, what the clay looks like when it breaks apart and when the seedling actually starts to come up out of it. So to that, we're going to talk a little bit about just the parts of a seed. There's not much. You might remember them back from your biology lessons. And I just have a little bit of microgreens here because they're the easiest way to actually see the parts of the seed. And we'll get some close-up pictures for you. But there's a seed shell. And the shell is a hard shell on any seed. It's the hardest part of the seed, and it protects the seed. It keeps it from damage. It keeps the endosperm from damage. It keeps all the moisture inside. It keeps the nutrients inside of it, and it protects the seed. So what you're going to do is you're going to wet, and you're going to provide just the right temperature for that seed shell that'll break it apart. And again, we'll get some pictures here for you so you can see what it looks like starting to break apart. But it breaks apart, and then the radical comes out. And you'll be able to see here exactly what it looks like. You can see the radical coming out of it, and that's the start of the life of the plant. That's the germination that you want in a plant. And you can actually even see here on this one just an empty seed shell just kind of floating around. Sometimes they just dissolve. In this case, we kind of caught one before it started to dissolve. So we'll get you can see those right now. So you've got the seed shell that protects it. You've got the endosperm that connects, that has all the nutrients right there in it. And with the right temperature and the right moisture, that seed shell starts to break open and germination starts. And that's really what you want from a seed. The pelleted seeds, as I said, they just have that extra protection of the clay around them. And the clay helps keep the moisture in to break apart the seed shell. So when you're dealing like this, like we all do it, like hydroponically, we do it is in a controlled environment. This is a controlled environment agriculture. And in CEA, you as the grower, you are completely responsible for everything the seed needs to germinate. So you're responsible for the light, you're responsible for the nutrients, you're responsible for the moisture, you're responsible for the healthy germination of all of your plants. You're giving it what the plant needs to succeed. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of the seed. So I just kind of want to talk about another couple of quick things. There's a couple of different ways to seed, and we actually have some seminars out or some webinars that you can go on YouTube and check out already, which we've done a very detailed webinar on seeding. And you can seed with an easy seeder, an automatic seeder. You can seed by hand. There's a couple of different ways to seed by hand. Or if you have a large, maybe a multi-acre facility, you might want a commercial seeder. But they're very expensive. They're very fast. But you'll want to be sure that you have the economics. So you'll need at least an acre or more to make that some kind of a viable purchase for your farm. Seed storage. So seed storage right now. So what I have here, I have a couple of different packages, and I just kind of want to toss them out there and show you. Seeds should always be stored, first of all, in the refrigerator. So here at HCOE, we have just kind of a small little, like a dorm room refrigerator. It was probably like $50 from Target or something like that, or Costco. You always want to keep seeds in the refrigerator. You want to keep them in a watertight container, whether it's a little plastic jar like this, which a lot of them come in, or these are both waterproof bags that seeds come in. So you want to make sure that no moisture gets into them. The other thing is you want to make sure that when you have them in there, that you don't put them in a paper box, in like a cardboard box or anything like that. Because even as they're just kind of sitting out, mice and rodents love seeds, and we'll get to them in any way possible. So you never want to store seeds out in your greenhouse. You might have a cupboard or something like that and think it's no big deal, but you never want to store seeds in your greenhouse. You want to keep them in a refrigerator. Now the refrigerator can be in your greenhouse, but you want to make sure that the seeds are in the refrigerator, protected, cool, and kept dry. Yeah, so basically, as a quick reminder, you want to always keep in mind temperature and moisture are the biggest enemies of a seed. Before we end up real quick, some question that almost always comes up to us is about heirloom seeds. Now, heirloom seeds, what they are is they're varieties. Heirloom varieties are open pollinated. That means they're not crossbred. They're not specifically identified for any particular characteristic of them. For example, like, they're not crossbred to maybe change the shape of the leaves or for tip burn or anything like that. They're just open pollinated, and they are what they are. So a lot of people talk about heirloom varieties. They can be difficult in a commercial sense to grow because there's not necessarily any uniformity to heirloom varieties. So a lot of people think they have a better taste, heirloom varieties. I guess that's a matter of personal opinion. They could have a better taste. They have very little disease resistance to them. So they're kind of at the whim of whatever's happening, whether it's powdery or anything else. So heirloom varieties, you can consider them kind of the all-natural variety, if you will. They're not bred for anything specific. They're not crossbred with anything. They have little disease resistance. They don't have a lot of uniformity, so they're a difficult crop to grow commercially, and they just aren't as productive. However, a lot of people will say they do taste better, so that's something to remember in heirloom varieties. It's a question we get a lot of. Here at AmHydro, we always recommend pretty exclusively non-GMO seeds. No reason to use seeds that have been modified genetically or anything like that. But the seeds that we do are, like I said, they are specific varieties that have been crossbred for certain traits. Only buy, and I'll give you a little anecdotal story, only buy from a reputable source. And that reputable source might be a local vendor And by local, I don't mean the local hardware store that's selling, you know, like burpee seeds or if Color Spot's even around, anything like that. I mean maybe a seed breeder or a distributor that's local to your area. We like Paramount Seeds. They're non-GMO, and Richard at Paramount Seeds is fantastic. Or Johnny Seeds. We also get a lot of our seeds from Johnny Seeds, and both of those two have a huge variety of different seeds. Matter of fact, now you can even go in and sort and filter and say, not just grown in a greenhouse, but you can say, I want hydroponic seeds for a butter lettuce or a bib lettuce or something like that. I went on Amazon. One of our customers, and you may have heard me say this before, asked for something called culantro. And I couldn't find culantro anywhere, so I went on and I bought some seeds from Amazon, some culantro seeds from Amazon, and just, I don't even know, I don't think it was a seed distributor, but those seeds came in, and in every single, if they germinated with grass seeds coming up in them, so I was constantly picking grass seeds and grass leaves out of my culantro. So if you're gonna grow hydroponically, you want to be sure that you only get your seeds from a very reliable source. Always trial new varieties. As you can see here, and probably you've seen in a lot of our videos before, right? We have probably a dozen different varieties of things growing all at the same time. Try new varieties. If you normally grow Rex, try an Alexandra, or try a completely different butter leaf or something like that. Always try something new, because there may be something out there that works really well very specifically for your region or for your market. So always try new varieties. Order a pack of 250 of them and just give them a try and see how they work. Just a quick note, we have a lot of international customers. Seeds generally cannot be imported. So a lot of countries won't allow seeds to come in, but that's okay, because the all of the large seed growers will usually have a representative in some of the major cities in most countries we go to. So when we work with our international customers, we don't try to advise them on seeds, on what to grow. Instead, we'll find out what seed representatives are there in their area and have them talk to those representatives, because they know those seed companies know what grows really well in that particular region of the world or area of the world. So that's kind of everything that you need to know about seeds. Buy high quality. Don't forget to buy high quality. Even germination, that's what you're looking for, nice even germination. And you can see when you come through here, and again, thinking back on some of those pictures you saw, when you see big clumps of it falling off, don't despair. You know, that's the seed coat falling away and letting the germination really happen. So hope you enjoyed this seed seminar, and I want to make sure that you see the next slide coming up on your screen will be the deal of the month. We still have, I think we have 3-4 spots left in our seminar. We just had someone cancel and reschedule for our next seminar. So we still have 4 spots available, and that is SEM Combo, and that gives you 2 nights in the hotel and the seminar for 2 people. We always encourage 2 people to come for $495. So go online, email us at info@amhydro.com. If you go online, just use the combo, the discount code SEMCombo. And then also next month will be October, and that's our seminar, but our webinar will be an actual, we're actually going to film a section of our seminar so you can watch it, and it will be as if you are sitting in on that section of our seminar. So I would encourage you to sign up for that, and thanks for joining us. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@amhydro.com.